This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Arrowgate, what a commanding performance. He won the Travers by 12 in a final time of 1 minute 59.36 seconds. The fastest Travers ever and a new track record.
Live from the backstretch at historic Saratoga Racecourse, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow. Racing Across America is brought to you by Pinnell's Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, Saratoga, just minutes from the track. Thoroughfan, giving the fan a voice. Find them at thoroughfan.com. And Woodbine Racetrack. Pick, bet, and cheer on world-class horse racing north of the border.
Good morning and welcome to a special Saturday edition of Racing Across America. Game plan here is we have Chris Kay coming in a few. Looking for him at about 9:45. He had a couple other, obviously very busy with media over the opening couple of days of the meet, and he had a couple other things scheduled, but we look for him at about quarter of. Top of the hour, a little beyond. Mark will be in with Down the Stretch as usual. So all of that coming up again on this special abbreviated edition of Racing Across America on a Saturday morning live from Saratoga. I still have the smile on my face. We're here in front of Clare Court. We've been here for the last few days. Really kind of the best television set in all of horse racing. I thoroughly enjoy it. I'll as the meet goes along, yesterday I went over fairly early, but as the meet goes along, I kind of finish my day here on television and then just make my office here for a couple hours. It's quiet, the horses are out here, I can walk over, and if the first couple of races, one of them starts from the 7 furlong chute, I can go over and watch that and just kind of enjoy the afternoon of racing for at least a couple hours over here in the TV tent. As I say, it's really a great location we have here on the backstretch. And yesterday, as I walked away from the set out here on Union Avenue, cars were kind of bumper to bumper, and as I said, I headed over 11:30 or so to the front side, but they were bumper to bumper for about 10 o'clock yesterday. 32,000 plus yesterday. All sources handle up double digits, so it was really a big day for NYRA yesterday. Nice racing, as I said on the handicappers report. My handicapping, a little bit lackluster. It wasn't bad. I didn't whiff. It just wasn't what I particularly wanted, particularly as an exacta player. I certainly wasn't plugging those in the way I want to, but we reload and come back today. As always, you can find the selections on capitalotb.com. Click on the handicappers report. On the human side of things yesterday, it was Ricardo Santana getting off to a nice start on the jockey side. He had a couple of wins. Everybody else with only one win. The Ortiz brothers each had a win. Javier Castellano. Luis Contreras came down from Woodbine. He's one of the guys we interviewed on Queen's Plate weekend. Enjoyed talking to him when we were up there, so it was fun to see him come down and win the Schuylerville yesterday. But as I say, Ricardo Santana with a couple of wins took the early lead. Things have plenty of time to sort themselves out over the next 39 racing days, however. On the trainer side of things, Kieran McLaughlin got out to a nice start yesterday with a couple of wins. And then, as I say, all the other trainers with one win each on the day. But Kieran probably had the best performer of yesterday, and I think we have the stretch run of the fourth race yesterday, in which I like Price to Perfection. And if you heard me talk yesterday, I said not the best bet, Price to Perfection, or excuse me, not Price to Perfection, Pattern Recognition. I'm confusing my closed up names there, but Pattern Recognition was the number 3 horse, and you can see gets up late, but far too late behind Tackaful, who kind of runs away and hides from this field. I had Tackaful right underneath. I thought Pattern Recognition, as I say, the most likely winner on the card. But I said Tackaful had that great early start to the career, and then they went in stakes and got ambitious and just couldn't live up to that early confidence. But I said the cut back to the sprint and a little lesser company yesterday, I wouldn't be surprised to see something good. I didn't quite see that. You know, the wins by a chart margin of 5 1/4, and Bayer figure yesterday of 105. So not going to be surprised if we see this horse winding up in some 3-year-old sprint stakes as we move forward here at Saratoga. That was only the 5th career start, and again, now maybe validates what we saw in the career debut, that level of talent, but validates it for a sprinter. So you would think Tactful, that'll be the game plan now. But boy, that was probably the best performance on the card yesterday. Tactful getting it done in the 4th race, flip-flopping my exacta. When you flip-flop $26, that was an okay exacta. But the Chad runner was taking a lot of action in there, and they let Tactful get away at an $8 and change price. But as I say, probably the best performance of the day from Tactful. Otherwise, in the Schuylerville, I said it on the handicappers report earlier. I thought the 6-1 on the morning line was kind of generous, and then the horse goes off at less than that. But what I still thought was a generous price off what we saw up at Woodbine. Now, it was on a synthetic surface, but the buyer figure in that stakes race last time, and if you watch betting enough, you realize the bettors really kind of plug in the buyer figures. And off of that number last time, I thought this horse would get a lot more action. But Dream It Is wins the Schuylerville yesterday, and again, does it at what I thought was kind of a generous price, given what we'd seen. But validated the first 2 starts up at Woodbine and did it on a dirt track. Trainer Barbara Minshaw quoted after the race, the 2-year-old program in Canada is pretty restricted unless you run on grass. I don't know if we're going to explore that. So I guess maybe that's a possibility they're floating out there to try a 3rd surface. Certainly they have proven themselves on synthetics and have done so similarly on dirt yesterday. And she says, they're based up at Woodbine, so given that's the option, perhaps a little more grass racing for this type up there, they may look at that. But of course, the spin-away at the end of the meet is floating out there as well. The trainer said yesterday it's ultimately the owner's decision of where we'll go next. I can't say the spin-away for certain, but it's definitely a maybe. And you would have to think, I don't know, you'd have to think it's more than a maybe. It's sitting out there with a purse of $350,000. It's a grade 1 at Saratoga. And if you have a horse coming off a Schuylerville performance like that, boy, you would have to think that's probably the direction they will go with the. But we'll see. But if it was mine, I think that would be the direction I would move in. The Lake George yesterday, another one that one I kind of did whiff on, I will have to admit. As I say, overall on the day, I felt I was kind of in the mix as the day progressed. But there were a couple of races where I felt like I was on the outside looking in, as it were, in the Schuylerville with Proctor's Ledge getting it done. But the horse I had on top, Party Boat at 5-1, ran a good second and made a little late run, but you kind of knew mid-stretch we were not going to get up there over Proctor's Ledge. Proctor's Ledge at 6-1, so 6-1 over 5-1. If you had that, you wound up with a nice little exacta of, we're looking at about $88 in there. Proctor's Ledge was one that you can look at after the race, a little 20/20 hindsight, kind of say, okay, I kind of get it. But prior, without the 20/20 hindsight, I did not have Proctor's Ledge in my mix. So that was, as I say earlier, that was kind of the way the day went for me, in that I was struggling a little bit late. Early, I had 5 of the 10 winners in either my top or my second slot. So, as I say, it wasn't a whiff during the day. It just was kind of a slow start. But given what happened, and as an exacta guy, there were a couple of races that were tough, with a 50-1 shot coming in second, a 30-1 shot coming in second. But, just kind of being out and amongst the crowd in the facility for those races, you knew some people were walking away happy yesterday. I always like to see that. Yeah, you want to have some prices out there so folks, particularly the first day of the meet, kind of cash in and have the opportunity to walk away feeling pretty good about what they did on opening day. I said that early pick 5 paid pretty well in a sequence I thought was hittable. I thought the Chad Brown horse, for me, was a single, but Tactful I had right underneath. I certainly wouldn't have argued with anybody putting that one on the ticket. The last horse in the sequence was maybe a little bit of a stretch, but not much. Certainly it was playable. The other 3 horses I thought were completely logical, but it was a very playable early pick 5 yesterday. You wound up with $1,700 for a 50-cent ticket. So appreciated seeing that. Don't forget, this afternoon here at Saratoga, we do have the Diana, and it will feature Lady Eli in a field of 6. A nice quality field of 6. On the handicappers report earlier, I said I'm going to go with Lady Eli. She's a great story. Love to see her win. But more importantly, you can't bet on sentiment. You can root for horses and bet against. But I thought off her last race, she kind of signaled that maybe she's getting back to her career good form. And if so, she will be very difficult to beat this afternoon. But the other Chad Brown runner, Antino, comes in off a good performance in the Just a Game, albeit a good closing performance. And I think with a field of 6 in here, without really any pace to speak of necessarily jumping off the page, I think Antino might be up against it a little bit. And I think Dickinson very good, clearly, but I just think Lady Eli on her best day has a pretty clear edge on Dickinson. And given that, and added into, as I say, what looked like a race last time that indicated she may be back in career form, Lady Eli on top for me in the Grade 1 Diana this afternoon. Kicking off a nice Saturday of Grade 1 races up here at Saratoga, as I say, with a story horse as well. That's up here at Saratoga, and I've mentioned the last couple of days there's some good racing around the country today as well. And one of the highlights, of course, is going to be out at Del Mar, the San Diego Handicap. Of the PPs up here on my computer in a field of 6, I believe, no, field of 5 in the San Diego, but it does include Arrogate in there, obviously off of his win in the Dubai World Cup last time. Question mark always is the comeback from Dubai, and it's also a layoff since late March. But it's Bob Baffert. He can have horses off long layoffs like this and run very, very well. You have a good string of workouts underneath. And this guy is the 800-pound gorilla in the handicap division. Hopefully we'll see a couple of contenders up here coming up in the Whitney and maybe a little later on in the Woodward. I'm going to look for Shaman Ghost to rebound after defeat to Keen Ice about 2 weeks ago. And I'm certainly going to look for another good performance from Gunrunner. I think Gunrunner is clearly going to be a player in this handicap division and perhaps give a little competition to Arrogate. But Arrogate setting himself up for Pacific Classic later in the Del Mar meet. We'll see what he does this afternoon. I mean, I think, hats off to them for getting 4 to jump in. Excuse me. And I think there are, a couple of horses in here that on their best day might get up and, make things happen. Accelerate on his best day. Certainly can run very, very well. Donworth is one of those horses that just seemed to have some promise early in the career and hasn't really lived up to it, but you would think on a big day might be able to do it. Similar situation for Cat Burglar in that, on a big day I think you can fire a big effort, but this is a field that I think you would be talking a major upset if they manage to get past Arrogate this afternoon. Now, there is some weight differential. It is a handicap, and we're going from 126 for Arrogate. Cat Burglar has 118, so you have an 8-pound swing minimum up to 11 pounds with a 115 in there as well. But I don't think the weight's going to make any difference whatsoever. I think this race goes through Arrogate, and tune in just to see how Arrogate is going to as I say, move forward off of the Dubai World Cup and move into the Pacific Classic coming up a little bit later in this Del Mar meet. The Pacific Classic will go off our time tonight at about 9:03. You can, of course, watch it right here on the network. 6:03 Pacific time, 9:03 our time, so keep that in mind. A little bit earlier, a couple other races of note out at Finger Lakes. Our friends out there have a couple of nice fun stakes this afternoon. The New York Oaks will be the 6th race out at Finger Lakes today. Only $75,000 up for grabs, and it's not a field where I'm finding any horses of particular note in the 3-year-old division. Again, these would have to be New York breds, but Bluegrass Hip Hop comes in for Rudy Rodriguez. They shipped this one up. You would think to get a race over the track last time, and they shipped the horse up from Belmont and won an allowance non-winners to 2 lifetime, going a couple of turns. but with a buyer figure. They won the race with a buyer figure that is a little bit light, maybe not compared to this field, and it is Rudy, and with the race under the track. Horse has since been back in training at Saratoga, but Bluegrass Hip Hop, 6-1 on the morning line. Diaz in to ride. Playing with the boys for Michael Ferraro, comes out of a seasonal debut, going 6 up there. Excuse me, that was, again, number-wise compares with the Rudy horse. Charlie Baker has Tis Now Smile, who class-wise, and the morning line is saying it, class-wise might have a little bit of an edge on this bunch. Most of the career has been bouncing around in stakes company. Many of those races at NYRA tracks, has pocketed $174,000. So the Charlie Baker horse, again, class-wise, is probably going to get a lot of action this afternoon. And not only class-wise, number-wise, probably has an edge on a group of those in here. Bonita Bianca, another Rudy horse that will be a contender in here, some kind of sexy as well. Fun field there. Excuse me, in the New York Derby, pat on the back for Ken McPeak. Had a prep up in the Ontario, ran in the Mike Lee just before that, but pat on the back off the win up there, maybe intriguing. But Twisted Tom for Chad Brown, moving in against State Bred Company off a Belmont Stakes try. Look at Twisted Tom in the New York Derby this afternoon.
How are you?
All right, photo break when we come back.
You yesterday.
Chris Kay is in the house. NYRA's chief. We'll talk a little bit of NYRA, what's coming up at the 2017 Saratoga meet as we move into the opening weekend. Stay tuned.
Whether you're winding down from a day at the track or gearing up for the night, celebrate summer with live music, fabulous food, and the best happy hour in Saratoga. The Diamond Club at Embassy Suites, where the world meets in Saratoga.
Not at the track and not near a computer? No problem. Wager with Capital OTB's touch-tone wagering system and you'll never get shut out again. Capital OTB's touch-tone wagering system is quick, simple to use, and guarantees your wagers are accurate and placed on time. For more information, visit CapitalOTB.com or call Capital OTB's customer service hotline at 800-292-BETS. Capital OTB's touch-tone wagering system. Never get shut out again.
Don't miss the 2017 Thorough Fan Annual Awards Brunch with special guest speaker Donna Barton Brothers. This annual event is Saturday, August 12th at the Embassy Suites in Saratoga Springs, New York. Go to thoroughfan.com for tickets and information.
No matter where in the world you are, the excitement of wagering on horse racing is just a click away. CapitalOTB.com offers live streaming, past performances, race replays, our virtual tote board, analysis and selections from professional handicappers, and a simple, safe, and secure wagering platform. And best of all, you get track prices. Going on now, it's Bet 50, Get 50. Simply open a Capital Bets account, bet $50, and get $50 cash back. CapitalOTB.com. Log on today.
Hey race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook and get in the game. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, fantastic food and drinks, an amazing Vegas-style atmosphere with seating for nearly 900 of your closest friends. Conveniently located at 711 Central Avenue, right off Exit 5 of I-90 in Albany, the Clubhouse Racebook is the better choice.
Relax with a signature cocktail or one of our world-class wine selections while enjoying indoor or outdoor dining for lunch and dinner. The Diamond Club at the Embassy Suites, winner of the 2016 and 2017 Wine Spectator Award of Excellence.
This is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. As I say, a special Saturday edition. Very special because we're happy to be joined now by the president of the New York Racing Association, Chris Kay. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Seth.
Happy to have you on board.
Always pleased to come here.
And happy also, and right off the top of the interview, I'll say we're happy to be here, and we really appreciate you and your team and the hospitality you provide us and the ability to broadcast from what I say is the best television set of all of horse racing. We have the horses working out behind us in the morning. We really appreciate the hospitality.
We're thrilled to have you here, and it is a great setting. You're right.
Yeah. And let's start out. Let's talk some generalities before we get into specifics, because I want to go back to yesterday, and as I say, talk some generalities just to get the feel that you and your team must have, because I'm a homer, I admit it, but I think most racing fans would agree this is probably the best racing meet in the country, and certainly one of the tops in the world. So you guys are on the big stage, but that means long hours, that means 6 days a week of racing, and so everybody puts a lot into it. But how rewarding is it, to use a baseball analogy, when you make connection and you hit a line drive some days, but like yesterday, you make connection and hit a home run. 14% up total handle, 32,000 smiling people yesterday. It's got to be very rewarding.
It is. It truly is. And it's a great team effort. And so it was also rewarding to see our executives realizing their hard work is paying off. So it was a great day all the way around. And what was especially great is you saw seasoned horse players as well as young families of the track, and everybody was having a great time in their own way.
Yeah, we, when we're here on days like that, you see the cars start lining up here on Nelson Avenue next to our set, and it was about 10 o'clock in the morning where the cars started lining up. You had a great day weather-wise, and there were just smiles all around all day long.
It was. And I think what we've done is, they're like building blocks. So we began in 2013 to say, we are going to treat you like you are a guest in our home. And then that's carried through every year. And then in 2014, we added capital improvements to enhance the experience. More in 15, more in 16, and now more in 17. And we get a lot of feedback from our guests, and we then say, okay, based upon that feedback, what can we do to make it better? And I think a lot of people are now saying, this is a much better experience. They tell their friends, they tell their family, and they come back. And the results are, as you said, a home run.
And I had some notes here, and I hadn't written it down, but you triggered when you talked about the guest experience and changes you've made in a few years. I want you to talk a little bit about, because I think you've added some perks to the season pass again this year, but the season pass over the past few years, that's been a home run as well.
It has. So it started out as just basically, you got a great value to come to the track. Then we decided to add even more value when you came to the track by giving a discount at certain restaurants on Wednesdays, certain restaurants on Thursdays, and the Artist Alley on Friday. Then we've taken it outside the property, and so now there are now up to 50 merchants and attractions, and it's great because it isn't just a discount during the meet, it goes all the way to March, so it's almost a year-round discount with a season perk program.
Yeah, nice.
And it really does find another way for us to link the racetrack with the business community.
Yeah, and I always said, it's great to kind of tip your cap to the regulars, and if folks are coming, and locals do. A lot of people, it's the 2 or 3 times during the meet, and we love those people, but boy, the Saratoga fans are so savvy, and there's a lot of people that are going to come 20 or 25 times, and when you can kind of show your appreciation to them with something like the season pass, it's a great move.
It is, and it's the kind of thing where you may say, look, it equates to $1 a day. So I buy the pass, and then it's 4:30. I'm pretty well finished with my work for the day. I'll catch the last couple of races.
That's a great point. Yeah, you can swing in for, again, like the last 3 races or something at a discounted rate. I've been a big fan of the season pass that you did it. And then when you add the perks, it became even a better deal. All right, let's talk a little bit about some of the changes and improvements. I'll tee you up and let you go through that a little bit. I went out yesterday and took some pictures in anticipation. And I went back to one of the improvements from last year, the Jim Dandy Sports Bar. That was packed, and that's become popular, obviously, as a new item. But added this year, the Horse Pass had the rubberized pavers. Correct. And for folks who are bringing families out by the East Avenue gate, the upgraded, and looks like a lot of fun, horse-themed kids park.
It is. It's great. And so the idea here is that we want to make sure that horse racing is alive and well for many decades to come. How do you do that? You've got to get young people. So we've made a significant effort to try to make this a more friendly place for millennials. And we're going to continue to do so. Because a lot of those millennials were not brought to the track by their parents. So it's a new experience for them. A recruiting effort, if you will. But we do have parents who are bringing their kids to the track right now. So how do you make them have an enjoyable time at the track? So a couple of years ago we put in Horse Sense, where you could actually touch a horse. And that is a meaningful connection. And then this year, we actually revitalized the playground area. We've got 3 miniature starting gates, so they can bolt from the gates. I don't know if you were out there, but they're running around our oval track.
There you go. And it was getting a lot of action.
It was. I was there twice. I counted 42 kids once and 50 kids the other time. And the other thing you can't really tell from the picture is that we have these new type of benches. They aren't the hardwood bench. They've got some give. So mom and dad can have a little relaxation as well. While the kids
and I saw plenty of that yesterday, too.
They can just kind of sit back.
But I also noticed there's a little enclosed monitor, so Dad can keep track of the races.
Correct. We want to make sure you're connected.
Yeah. But that looked like a lot of fun. As they say, the rubberized horse pavers on the horse paths, a nice addition as well. Good looking, and certainly I'm sure the horses and the horsemen appreciate it.
Well, they do, but also our fans, because you can see right now all those picnic tables next to the horse path. A lot of dust used to be kicked up. Now there's no dust.
Yeah, great
So
point.
they can enjoy their time at the picnic tables.
All right, let's move on a little bit. Oh, before we do that, there's also an upgrade to the Paddock Mutual building, which, as I came down the escalator yesterday, it's funny that there's a lot of that the copper roofing and whatnot, and you can always tell when something's new because it doesn't have the patina yet. And I looked over at the Mutual building, you can see the nice copper accents, but it looks great.
Looked like a new penny.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that building was built in 1902. And we have preserved the history to the extent we could by actually putting in 150 rafters to reinforce the old ones, but you can't tell they're there. And of course, the same slate roof that was there originally. So it really looks great.
All part of capital improvements that you've been doing for a couple of years now and will continue in the future.
Correct. We've actually spent $29 million over the last 4 years in capital improvements and will continue to do so. One of the most important capital improvements this year is one you really don't see. And that is we have these devices that help expand the capacity for our Wi-Fi.
Oh.
We have actually increased our Wi-Fi
Speaking of appealing
capacity.
to millennials.
Yes, exactly. So we've got 250% greater capacity for Wi-Fi, which is especially important because this year we launched Naira XP. And that is something that has really been getting rave reviews since opening day. And so Naira XP is where you actually use your cell phone to be, I call it a remote control device for your utilization here at the track. Once you download it, you're able to, first off, buy tickets online on your phone. You can also reserve a parking place. You can go to Naira Bets and wager. You can go to Naira Now and watch the races the way you do. We have actually 7 high-definition cameras, and so you can customize the way you see the race. One of those cameras is in the paddock, so you can check it out before you make a wager. And you also can use it to connect with Uber, which is our official ride-sharing partner. And starting next week, we're going to be slowly launching the fact that you can order food on your phone and then go to various restaurants and pick it up on Express Line.
Yeah, I saw that advertised on television. Not advertised, one of the news stations was talking about that edition where you can order food and don't have to stay in the line. And I was going to tee you up with talking about the app, and I was going to bring into it saying, you guys have to be really proud because when you talk about the technology, I mean, you can't get more bells and whistles than this thing has.
You're right. So as a matter of fact, this is part of it. There's a company called Venue Next. It was started by the San Francisco 49ers when they built their new stadium, Levi Stadium, and they said, just go get the best company. And they said, there's no company out there. And so this was formed by the Orlando Magic and the San Francisco 49ers. And we are cutting edge for the world of sport. We are cutting edge, not just for the world of horse racing.
Yeah, if you want to follow the game, again, all the camera angles that are there, and you can look at the paddock anytime you want to. It's a great, the Naira XP app. And it's unveiled it on Belmont Stakes weekend?
We did.
Yeah. So
we had a soft launch, so to speak, for Belmont Stakes weekend because we knew we were going to be here for 40 days. We wanted to get all the kinks out, and we did.
Yeah, fairly brand new then, but highly recommended. Also wanted to talk a little bit about something, again, you've done for a while now, but it's been a big hit. I thoroughly applaud it, and I'm talking about Saratoga Live, the television show on MSG and Fox Sports. You've been doing it all spring, and I get home in time to watch about the last hour, and then being a night owl, I'll watch the first hour at about 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes because they'll replay it a few times during the day. But boy, if you want to evangelize for horse racing, I mean, it's not just MSG and Fox Sports. You have affiliates all across the country now. And yeah, it's great for racing fans. But again, I think it evangelizes to sports fans in general. And that's the great thing about it. And you have a great team on the show. And I totally applaud the effort on Saratoga Live.
Thank you. We feel the same way. And we go from 4 to 6:30 East Coast time. And it's been fantastic. And this year, we actually expanded our reach. So now we have Prime Ticket Los Angeles and also in San Diego. And we also have Fox Ohio, which covers also parts of Kentucky.
Oh, nice.
So all those folks that love great horse racing, they can check us out here in Saratoga. So I think we're up to like 78, almost 80 million households now. And I tell you what, I'm so thrilled to have Paul LaDuca on the team. Yeah. He's great. Gabby is wonderful. And of course, Maggie does a great job. It's a great team.
And Andy.
Yes. You know, I mean, I did a podcast with Andy, and I said the thing I missed most last year, Andy, was not seeing you wear the dunce cap. You know.
Does he still bring the dunce cap up?
Oh yeah, and we have it, and we also have it graphically. You know, because we have great graphics with our team. So that cap was just waiting to be placed on his head, and last year he avoided it.
And as I say, before I sat on this side of the camera, for years I had a little television production company in town here, and so I know that what goes into it. And what's fun is, you know, you're doing racing during the afternoon. There's time between the races where you can put in those nice little features to get behind the scenes thing. And I know a guy like Ernie Munich, I know participates there. Our friend Ernie does a great job. But I know what goes into it with your team, Tony Oliveto and Eric Donovan, and as you say, the team in front of the camera, adding Paul and making Gabby a more full-time performer now, and of course Andy and all the rest. They do great on the pregame show as well. But boy, as I say, I appreciate the work that goes into the MSG product.
Well, thank you. And what we do now is, like you said, we have these little vignettes about various people. I am a trainer. I am a jockey. And we're trying to get people to understand more about the people side of it. And then we're also, this year, doing something new. I call them postcards from Saratoga. And so when you go into or out of commercial, there'll be like a 10 or 15 second segment where we'll show something like the the Hall of Fame, or the Springs at the Saratoga Spa. Various things about Saratoga that are going to appeal from a tourism standpoint to those that are viewing across the country who may come this year, but maybe next year they'll come. So we're very excited about the program.
Yeah, as I said, it evangelizes for the game. And speaking of that, you spoke the other morning at the Saratoga Chamber business breakfast. And one of the topics you brought up, I want you to fill us in a little bit. You talked about the possibility of nighttime racing for NYRA, and it's something you're approaching. It would take some legislation to go through and whatnot, and I know you've pushed and it's gotten kind of halfway there. But fill us in a little bit on how that's good for NYRA, and more importantly, you see it as being good for the racing game. Again, evangelizing and maybe bringing in some new fans.
Exactly. So when I was with Toys R Us, when I was with Universal Studios, the question was always the same. How do you create new generations of customers? Same is true for horse racing. And in fact, you say, well, we have races on a Thursday afternoon at Belmont. Aren't there many people there? Well, that's because most people are at work a Thursday afternoon. And, well, what about young people? How do we get young people? Most people that are young are at work on Thursday afternoon. But if you had it a Thursday night or Friday night, they could work during the day, use their discretionary income to come out at night and have a great time and fall in love with our sport. When you look at Major League Baseball, it exploded when they went to night baseball games. And the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Mets, they have Thursday night games and Friday night games during the spring, summer, and fall. That's all we're suggesting. And we think it's the right thing to do for our sport. We'll be able to connect with so many more people in a very significant way. How many times do you say, oh, I fall in love with something by watching it on television? Not often. And for people that love sports, you go to the venue. You follow it thereafter on television, but you go to the venue. And of course, this is a fantastic venue, and Belmont has got a lot of history to it. So we want to be able to have the same opportunity that every other sport has, which is to have our games on night on weekdays.
And I'm assuming this, you're not talking a radical change. I'm assuming this, you're talking mostly Belmont, and just an occasional, get some nights in there occasionally. This afternoon racing would still be live, but you'd be picking some nights out to kind of, again, bring in new fans.
Right, and I guess it's important for all your viewers here, we're not talking about Saratoga. I mean, I said at the meeting, repeat after me, we're only talking about Belmont, not Saratoga. But in Belmont, you know, for example, Friday night, it would be a perfect night to start with. But we would still do Saturday afternoons, Sunday afternoons, because we want families to come out as well. But there are different types of people that can fall in love with horse racing. And that one demographic we aren't serving because we don't have Friday night racing.
Yeah, it really is all about bringing new fans into the game. And I think, as I say, ticking off the TV show and the app, and there are things that will appeal to, as you say, the millennials, and hopefully bring them into the game. But night racing is, and we've seen some other venues try it, and it's been successful, so to see it in New York. But again, it's a legislative thing that would have to go through, so you're kind of approaching.
So we brought this up late in the session, and we got approval from the Senate, which was great. We didn't get it to the floor in the Assembly. We hope we can do that next year, because really, it's something that would be great for the game, but more importantly, be great for the public. The public should have the right to choose, and for us not to be on at night, to have only the trotters on at night, this doesn't make sense. You know, when you think about it, in the winter months, there's an NBA game programmed against an NHL game. And sometimes they're also programmed against football games in November and in January, and in baseball games in other months. So we've given the public the right to choose in other sports. Why not have it here as well?
Yeah, and again, it would appeal to a brand new audience. It makes sense not just for you guys, but for the racing game in general. It helps. It's a win-win for everybody. So
I agree.
We'll keep that in mind, and
we'll keep pushing.
Keep our fingers crossed. All right, as we wrap up, just want to remind people again, 4 giveaways again this year, but one of them kicks off tomorrow. It's Cap Day tomorrow.
Cap Day tomorrow, and also tomorrow is the contest for the women with their hats.
Which is always a lot of fun. But there's a kids category. There's kind of a for lack of a better word, glamorous category, and kind of a unique category typically.
I'll tell you what, there were some great hats
out
there yesterday.
Into those hats.
I know, they do. It was 2 years ago, I asked this one woman, she said she'd been working on it for 2 months. I don't know if she won or not.
No, they'll have racetracks on the head, the whole thing. But that's tomorrow. And of course, I didn't mention it yesterday, but the town always participates as well with the Hats Off the Music on Broadway in the evening. So that was last night and tonight. The hat contest tomorrow and cap giveaway day coming up a little later. T-shirt, cooler bag as well, part of the giveaways. And that's always a popular thing.
Those are, yeah. I think the great thing is, though, that what we've done now is we've really made every weekend into a big event. Every Saturday has got a fantastic race card. I give a lot of credit to Martin Panza. The card yesterday was fantastic. Yeah. And we started by saying Travers Day is a must-see event, Whitney is a must-see event, and now every Saturday is a must-see event.